What's going on, average Joe readers? I am back, and today I'm going to talk about Star Wars. Star Wars is, without a doubt, one of my favorite things. I don't know what you even call it now, because it's more than just movies and books and video games and everything. It's Star Wars is just the best. I've always been a huge fan, but I never really got into the books. I started off reading there was a trilogy that takes place in between book six and book seven. That was actually really good. I'm having a hard time thinking of which one it was. And then I was always drawn to Thrawn. I think one of the reasons why I held off reading so much Star Wars is because by the time I get into reading a lot, it was already deemed that like all that stuff was, Disney had already taken over, and that stuff is just like a pipe dream now. But I went through with Thrawn and really, really loved it. I finished that actually in January. That was the very first book I finished this year. Was the Last Command, I believe. Uh, that's how I started off, and then I realized that I really wanted to get into this more. And when you finish and you look in the back of the book, there's this huge chart from timeline of Star Wars novels that are all connected or somewhat connected at least, but they show the entire timeline and then where it takes place of, so many years before A New Hope. It's all anchored around the New Hope. So, okay, 5,000 years before the New Hope, a couple of years before the New Hope, and then after the New Hope and stuff like that. So I saw where Thrawn was and I was like, you know what? I just want to go back to the beginning. I had a couple of these bookmarked anyway. So a buddy of mine, one of my best friends, he also wanted to read some Star Wars books. He hadn't read much, so we decided to start reading them. And now I will be kind of low key putting in these Star Wars books, reading them in order from the beginning, most of them at least, as they're great filler books. They're great for palate cleansers. Reading a lot of fantasy, mystery, and thrillers. It's great to throw in some Star Wars sci-fi because knowing the universe as well as as much as the movies are, you kind of it's easy to just jump right back in, especially because a lot of them are centered around Jedi, and it's like, okay, cool, I know Jedi, I know these planets all sound the same, cool, the world already, okay, this stuff is new, cool. So it's easy to just throw them in, even though it's a shit ton of books. So I'm going to do those for these, and I started with Raven and Deceived. So that is, according to this chart, there's a couple that come before, but for some reason I just didn't want to start with those. I'd already heard about or had Raven on my list, and I think if I do these talks, it's not going to, I'm not going to really call them book reviews. I'm not going to break down the whole thing. I just want to give my thoughts on the stories themselves and maybe see if I can have some connections. We'll see. I've only read the first two, but I'm going in order, and I'll probably just end up grouping these together. So like I'm just gonna talk about the first two today, and then I'll probably do the next two later on. So the first one is Riven, and this takes place 3,954 years before A New Hope. And this was really cool to see the difference in what Jedi's were and used to be, and Sith as well. And that like the fact that I guess I just didn't know anything about Star Wars lore, and this is really awesome to hear about. But I had no idea that there was a race and planet of Sith. Like I thought Sith was just like something you became kind of like a Jedi. It's like a position, but there's an entire planet and race of Sith that are way out there, and there's like hundreds of them as well. And these big epic battles happen with the Jedi and the Sith. It's not just like a couple here and there. So that was really eye opening that they have a planet in their own, like a Sith school, like the Jedi have their academy. So that was very interesting. And the fact that, I guess it's not much of a spoiler, but the main character, the Jedi in this one, is married and has a kid. That's very new. That always seems like, and even at the time, they were kind of like, it was kind of like a faux pas or whatever in this book, but it still happened, and he was still a Jedi Master, and they just kind of like, okay, whatever. Those things are kind of cool. How things have changed. I mean, almost 4,000 years since the Star Wars that we kind of grew up on and watched. So that was really interesting. Um, it was much more character focused, which was really cool. You saw how, you follow a Jedi and a Sith, and then I think there's a third POV, but the Jedi and the Sith are the main ones, and it was cool to see how they're behind the scenes. It gave you a new picture into the Sith, and then how a Jedi, which was kind of mixed because he wasn't your prototypical Jedi, and how they came together was very interesting, and the ending was very surprising. It definitely ended on an ambiguous note, and you didn't get any closure from that. Even moving on to Deceived, because between Riven and Deceived, there's a 300-year gap, and then in Deceived, it's nothing is mentioned of before. You get kind of little like not even parallels, or they're just like, okay, I guess that kind of connects, but it's not like a direct connection or anything. They are different authors as well that wrote these. Most of these are, you know, if you a lot of authors have wrote many of these, but they don't always go in order. It's just like kind of random throughout these timelines. So that was cool. Also to hear about, when I said the personality of the Sith, there's also the Mandalorians. I didn't realize. I guess I might have known because it's kind of hinted at, especially in the show Mandalorian and all that. There was an entire planet of Mandalorians and a huge war between Mandalore and the Jedi, and it was or the Republic, whatever the Jedi are fighting for. Um, and that was also interesting as well, and how the Mandalorians fit into everything. So all of that was really cool, and it was very good. I did enjoy that. Then moving on to Deceived, once again you have a Sith and a Jedi POV, and then a third party that fits into it as well. And this was less character driven and more plot and nonstop action. Right from the beginning, shit hits the fan. Uh, Coruscant is attacked by the Sith, and yeah, things were crazy after that. And to see how they go through their progression of the battles, internal and external, that the Jedi, the main character, what she goes through, and then how the Sith reacts to what is happening around him as well, was really really cool. And again, the conclusion I kind of didn't see coming. It was less surprising than the others, or there was actually closure in this ending, and maybe that might help going into the next one, because between Deceived and the next two or three, it's all takes place within the same, I guess, same couple of years, according to this timeline. And there's one on this one that I think I'm going to skip, but Deceived was very cool for those reasons. There were new force abilities. It's kind of cool when those and they're not like anything crazy, like they're shooting fireballs or anything like that. That are just coming out of left field. That really change what you think about the Jedi and Star Wars and stuff. It's just little stuff that, like, oh, some can do that, some can do a little bit of this. Okay, that's kind of cool. So nothing too major. There was one thing that the main Jedi did that me and my buddy were both like, that seems like a convenient, but it only happened once and it wasn't that big of a deal. It's just like, okay, whatever. We'll just look past that right now. It's fine. The action was good. Everything was great. Yeah, I really really enjoyed that. I think both of them I gave 4 stars, maybe 4.5. It's hard to give these really quick fun reads 5 stars, considering the amount of 5-star reads I have that are just like epic and deep and much longer. These are only like 300 pages, so they go by really quick. Another reason why they are great for palate cleansers. Just to be in the Star Wars universe is a lot of fun. My wife and I are also currently going through The Mandalorian. I watched season one. She never did. She was gone. She was deployed when that was going on. So we just finished season one. Just started season two last night as of recording this. So I got a lot of Star Wars going on, and I'm a big fan. So the new Sith views, I think within both of them, I think that's surprisingly one of my favorite is seeing much more deeper into the Sith and behind the scenes of a Sith, and how their mind either works or how they go through things and affect things and their perspective. With the movies, all you see is basically the perception of the Jedi. So now you see the other side and what they go through, and I think it's really cool. It kind of makes at times a very gray area characters on both sides, but mostly for the Sith. So I think it is really really interesting for that. I know that I hear every time I bring this up in certain discords, people keep telling me to read Darth Bane, and I know I've heard of it. I'm going to get there. I think it's only about 4 books away from where I am, so I'll get to it. What I will be reading next will be Fatal Alliance, the Old Republic, Fatal Alliance, and the Old Republic Annihilation. Those are in the same chunk, and it's part of this 4-book series, the old Star Wars, the Old Republic. So those are the ones that which Riven was counted with those. That was book one, even though it takes place 300 years before these do. But not a big deal. So I'll be reading those next. According to this timeline, there's one called Red Harvest, which on the surface it sounded like interesting at first, but the reviews said it was not very good. It's basically just a zombie book, but reskinned in Star Wars, which could sound awesome, but I don't know if I want to waste my time on basically just a rehashing of that. So I'm just going to skip that and go to Fatal Alliance and Annihilation. That'll probably be on the next book or the next video that I record for the Star Wars. I'm not sure when I will get to it, but I think I might do these one a month, just as like a sprinkle in, because they're really easy to get into, and then we'll go from there. So I'll try and put up the chart. It's going to be hard to read. I'll put up the main chart, and then I'll try and to have the zoom in of where I'm at each time. Go from there, and let me know if you have gotten into the Star Wars universe. Let me know if there's anything that I should know about some of these. Which ones, if your favorites, or if you want to join along, doesn't hurt. Doesn't isn't very hard to just get into these and knock out some 300-page books. So let me know what you think about these Star Wars books and the going through the EU. I'm really excited to get to Darth Bane, and I'm really, really excited to eventually get to the new Jedi Order. That was originally what I was going to start with, but I figured why not just go all the way back to the beginning? So it's going to be a while till I get there, but I'm going to get there, and it's going to be a good time. So let's talk Star Wars.